This comes amidst escalating tensions that are spreading throughout the Middle East. The U.S. carried out its third strike against Yemen's Houthi forces Tuesday. The White House also announced it's redesignating the Houthi militia as a terrorist group and reimposing penalties on the Iran-backed group in retaliation for their attacks in the Red Sea, which have led to no casualties but have disrupted global trade. The group's vowed to continue its campaign in the Red Sea as long as Israel continues to attack Gaza. On Tuesday, a Greek vessel headed to Israel was hit by a Houthi missile. We'll have more on the possibility of a wider conflict later in the broadcast. In Gaza, displaced civilians are again fleeing as intense Israeli bombardment rains down on Khan Yunis, including the area around its main hospital, Al-Nasser. Israeli ground forces have also been reported in the area. Overnight, Palestinian journalist Bisan Alda was able to post a video from the hospital despite a 5-day-long communications blackout. Bisan Alda said she feared it could be her final update.
The medical staff, the ambulances, many people also evacuated the hospital, and that's so dangerous. This is the last functioning hospital in Gaza. That means that thousands of injuries are still now alone in the hospital. Displaced people are alone in the hospital. They are besieged. We are besieged. I don't know if I can survive this or go anywhere. I'm just alone. Alone as thousands. Alone as many in other hospitals were before.
Bisan Alda did survive the night and called on her followers to observe a global strike against the war next week. Qatar and France have brokered a deal for medicine to enter Gaza for the remaining Israeli hostages in exchange for aid for Palestinians. This comes amidst a worsening humanitarian catastrophe as a UN rights expert asserted, quote, every single person in Gaza is hungry.
The truth in the
death
matter.
toll has topped 24,000.
The biblical
Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's foreign minister said Tuesday Saudi Arabia could recognize Israel if the conflict's resolved and includes Palestinian statehood.
More than the people must stand
Israel's
up now
deadly attacks in the occupied West Bank continue,
the
with at least 7 Palestinians killed over the past day. On Tuesday, mourners attended the funeral of 21-year-old Ahad Mohammed in Dura, near the West Bank city of Hebron, after she was killed during an Israeli raid Monday. This is her sister.
Ahad was martyred here on the rooftop of her parents-in-law's house, where there was supposed to be a wedding next Friday. In our tradition, people come to arrange stuff for the bride. This is why Ahad was here. Ahad has a 6-month-old daughter. Her name is Ayul. She left Ayul behind. She left her to be a daughter of a martyr with no memories with her mother because they didn't have the chance to make memories together.
The Palestinian Health Ministry says Israeli forces have killed some 350 West Bank Palestinians since October 7th. In addition, at least 94 houses have been destroyed across the occupied territory, displacing 602 Palestinians, including 263 children since October 7th. That's according to the United Nations. On Monday, an elderly Israeli woman was killed and 17 people injured, including children, after a ramming and stabbing attack in the central Israeli city of Ra'anana. A Palestinian man and his nephew have been detained as suspects. Here in the United States, senators voted against a resolution advanced by Senator Bernie Sanders Tuesday that would have required the Biden administration to provide Congress with a report on how U.S. arms are being used in Israel and its human rights violations in Palestine. Just 11 senators backed Sanders' measure. Of the 11 backers, only 3 have called for a ceasefire in Gaza. Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Peter Welch, and Jeff Merkley. Dick Durbin is the 4th U.S. Senator to call for a ceasefire. Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream has joined calls for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Ben & Jerry's board chair, Anuradha Mittal, said in an interview with the Financial Times the ice cream company has long stood by the principle of peace. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, some 130 Mennonite protesters were arrested Tuesday during a peaceful sit-in in the Cannon House office building. Demonstrators sang hymns and chanted, "Let Gaza live." Meanwhile, in the latest crackdown by U.S. colleges on Palestinian voices, Indiana University canceled the first U.S. retrospective of renowned artist Samia Halabi.
Wow.
Halabi, who is an Indiana University alum, was informed her social media posts on the Israeli assault expressing solidarity with Gazans under attack was the reason for the cancellation.
Wow.
The exhibition had been in the works for over
Indiana.
3 years. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott is facing more condemnation for his support of anti-immigrant and border enforcement policies that led to the recent deaths of another 3 asylum seekers attempting to cross the Rio Grande near the border city of Eagle Pass. The mother and her 2 young children have been identified as 33-year-old Victorma de la Sancha Cerros, Yorlai Ruby, and Jonathan Agustin Barreones de la Sancha, who were 10 and 8 years old. They were from Mexico. Their drowning Friday came just days after Texas troopers took over about 2.5 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border, including Shelby Park near Eagle Pass, a city park on the banks of the Rio Grande, denying access to U.S. Border Patrol attempting to respond to rescue calls. The area has also been blocked off with fencing, gates, and razor wire. The Biden administration has given Governor Abbott until today to remove the barriers after the Justice Department Friday petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene against Texas. Texas Congressmember Joaquin Castro said, quote, "This is what Operation Lone Star looks like on the ground. Texas officials blocked Border Patrol agents from doing their job and allowed 2 children to drown in the Rio Grande. Governor Abbott's inhumanity has no limit. Everyone who enables his cruelty has blood on their hands,"
This is not what this
Castro
is about.
said.
This is about the
Bipartisan
protection
Congress
of the
members
United
agreed to a
States.
$78 billion short-term funding bill
others
that would
coming
avert a
from other
partial
places
government
drown?
shutdown Friday, while expanding the child
border
tax
must be
credit and
manned
restoring business
correctly.
tax breaks, among other things. The deal was put forward by Democratic
Not
Senator Ron
haphazardly.
Wyden, chair of the Senate Finance Committee, and Republican Jason Smith, chair of the House Ways and Means Committee.